Hello everyone, it's Jamal Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. So I'm going to develop an idea. Well, not develop, I have an idea. It's a starting point anyway. I don't necessarily know where this is going to go. So I don't even know if this video is going to go up. So a premise. One basic premise. There are things that are real in this existence and there are things that are unreal. And I know when you said it aloud, it's like, no shit, Sherlock. Of course there are things that are real, there are things that are not real. Now, what I want to say though is, among those things that are real, human beings and everything else in physical matter reality. I could say physical matter reality, but I kind of want to make the point that human beings as a thing and pretty much all materials that are in physical matter reality, those are things that we know that are real. I can touch those things, I can walk on those things, I'll feel effect from those things. Everything else is not. Everything else is purely perceptual. Those things are somewhat gimmicks of the mind. I stress that. I stress that because I try to get across that there is a difference between real and unreal things. That yes, you have these perceptual gimmicks in your society, these things that you agree with. It's like agreements that you make. The number of people that agree with a particular thing, anybody going contrary to those agreements, run afoul of a societal problem or a societal barrier of sorts. Your government is just a perceptual gimmick. Cash is a perceptual gimmick. The relationships within regards to culture, those things are just perceptual gimmicks. Those things are not real. Those things feel real. They even seem real. They feel as natural as can be because they're ground into you either through implicit or explicit pressure of the society itself. It's almost like getting the society or people in the society to conform to streams with it's like going down streets of sorts. It's like, this is your cultural boundary, this is your societal boundary, etc., etc., etc. Non-conformity, it's just different ideas. It's this counterculture, this thing that's running in counter-current to the way other people have their ideas of reality. The catch is, it is immensely difficult to get through this idea, this hurdle, that people's belief systems of the world, it's just their belief systems of the world, that there is no hard, iron way of doing this in our existence, how we relate to one another, our relationships. Those things are ground into you from a cultural standpoint. And again, I stress that for another reason. It is a strange thing when unreal things take priority over actual real things. So to say that a human being is a real thing, the environment is a real thing, cash is not. And yet it's okay for us in our society for a billionaire to step over the homeless guy to get into his car. Yes, that car is a real thing, the cash is not, in status that allows that particular person to do that. It's not. None of those things are real. The society has accepted certain gimmicks and certain things that the society uses as justification to allow that guy, that $40 billion, and the other guy to actually live on the street. That is an amazing fucking thing. If that homeless guy got up and hit that guy over the head and took his wallet, because that homeless guy wanted a decent meal or something like that, that homeless guy would be put in prison using the justice system of this country. Now, nobody ever looks at the violence that's associated, the implicit violence, the silent, almost absolute violence of a society allowing that guy to lay on the street in the first place. Doesn't look at it. That violence is invisible. The society itself, the fact that that guy has $40 billion in itself is somewhat of a failure of that society. There's no situation where the society should allow somebody to sleep on the street while somebody else has so much, particularly when cash is an unreal thing. It's an unreal thing. It's a factor of the game space. It's not this mystical thing. It's an unreal factor of the game space. We as a society come up with these rules, and with these rules we act as if these rules are these kind of, you know, like we're not responsible for the rules that the society comes up with. We are, as a society, responsible. Your question as a society is, do we have enough resources to provide for each and every person in the population? And I didn't say cash. I said, do we have enough resources to provide for each and every person within the population? The answer, of course, is yes. Do we have the technology to make sure that each and every person has food, clothing, shelter, etc., etc., etc.? And of course, that answer is yes. If we have inequities in a society where somebody has $40 billion and somebody else is living on the street, that was a failure of your society. You've allowed an unreal thing to take sway over something that is absolutely real, a human being. The left, if we're going to call ourselves the left, need to make the argument that real things matter a hell of a lot more than unreal things. And I know this argument is yes, it's somewhat of a lefty argument, and no, don't make it in the technical terms that I just made it. That's too abstract. But definitely in terms that people can understand it, and things that would directly affect the individual throughout your society. You're not going to get right-wingers on your side on a lot of this stuff, but I don't think you need them. What you're looking for is a large part of the society itself to mobilize around a particular idea, that people matter more than profits, and stress that idea. Imagine the ridiculousness of the Christians going on this kind of grand crusade through the Middle East, murdering for a God that they've never met, that they've never had any interaction with, and that for the most part is probably non-existent. They allowed an unreal thing to take sway over real things. This God in the sky, this mystical journey, we're fighting for God. Fighting for God. That's awesome. The suicide bombers, same thing. Those guys, they would strap a bomb on their chest. I'm going to Allah. I'm going to Allah. This is, yes, I think there are other factors that are pushing the religious thing for the religious, for the suicide bombers. But regardless, some of these guys were true believers. And in being true believers, they're allowed, again, an unreal thing to hold sway over actual real things. Our society is the same way. We don't look at it that way. We look at it as we're beyond ideology. I'm saying that we're allowing unreal things to hold sway over real things. Just like the suicide bomber, just like the Christian guy, for the most part, we would conform our society in a way where we would allow massive inequities in wealth, people in these dire conditions, living in these difficult lives. There's no God above that makes our society the way it is. These things are done by choices. And in these things are done by choices, we allow, just like the religious guy who's blowing himself up, just like the crusader, just like the guy who says sex is bad, just like the theocrats in Congress, allowing unreal things to hold sway over real things. The unreal thing in this that I'm trying to make point of is the arrangement to which our society is the way our society is arranged. It doesn't have to be arranged in this way. I mean, we've arranged ourselves in a way that allows massive and massive inequities, not to mention the danger and the problems associated with this kind of capitalistic endeavor of markets being far more important than individuals and human beings and to actual real things. These aren't agreements. These are agreements. That's all they are. These agreements can change, particularly when people realize, hey, do you realize we're allowing people to sleep on the street? We're allowing our environment to just go tumble up. And by the way, we live on this fucking planet. We don't have another planet to go to. Unreal things should not hold sway over real things. This was my point. It sounds absolutely ridiculous when you say it out loud of saying, hey, there are real things and there are unreal things. But I want to stress also the ridiculousness of living in the way that we live, allowing real things to suffer at the expense or in order to acquire and in order to, well, I guess the profit. But this is just this is an illusion. This is not real. This is a choice. This is a choice. It is a mass choice, but it is a choice nonetheless. This is a functional level of insanity. Rational human beings will not do things that would end their lives and end their existence. And this is exactly what we're doing. So, there are real things and there are unreal things. It sounds ridiculous when you say it. Not so ridiculous when you live by it. Alright guys. I will end it at that. I think this sounded okay, so I'm probably going to put this up. If you enjoy the content, feel free to share, like, subscribe, and of course, you can always subscribe through Patreon. Or help out through Patreon is probably what I should say. Thanks.